Thinking back on like maybe the first time I ever saw you play, and I think it might have been someplace like Cooters or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you had really long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it? What was the name of the band before the Falcons?
Well, I started out with the Attitude.
Uh-huh.
But that's that was kind of a punk band based on 60s female vocalist. Janice Tubas was a singer, and so she picked up the songs, and I started punking them out with her husband on drums, and Kurt Gary, famous radio guy around here for a while.
Okay. What years would that have been?
What year was that? I think that was 79.
Okay, I think I probably saw you around 81 or 2 for the first time.
And then we changed the Attitude into the Wet Spots when New Wave started sneaking in. I said, well, more of my stuff sounds more New Wave than doing these covers.
Yeah.
So started in on the originals.
Uh-huh.
And even though I'm a lover of rockabilly, that when you self-taught guitar player, you might, borrow some rockabilly essences, but most of the stuff I'm experimenting on isn't really a rockabilly song. It's more, a little more ethereal than that. So it kind of worked with the New Wave idea.
Yeah.
And so that happened for a while, and then I got better at guitar and started leaning into the roots rock thing that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, Rock Pile, and guys like that were renewing that that portion of Americana.
Right. Yeah, and it's sort of like a cross between punk rock and 50s rock is the way I saw you.
It had a modern slant and maybe a sharper edge guitar.
Right.
But it had the classic kind of lines and harmonies and ideas that were from the 50s.
I think I might.
But I mean, they put themselves on the same bill as Blondie, so it was like you got new wave and old style rock and roll kind of renewing itself at the same time on the same stages, loved by the same people.
Yeah.
So I kind of moved away from the short-lived nuances of the new wave sound and went into started the Falcons in '82.
Yeah, it had like sort of you weren't Stray Cats, but you were that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, people came up a year after they saw us and said, "There's a band out there that sounds a lot like you. They're called the Stray Cats." Like,
yeah, that's what the vibe I was getting.
I got the same thing, on several levels.
So, is that when you changed? You became the Warsaw Falcons at that point?
Yeah.
And what year would you think that would be?
That was '82.
82. Yeah. How many songs do you think you've wrote in your life?
I don't know. I never even thought about that question.
A couple hundred, maybe?
Oh, a few, much probably more than that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I didn't. If I started this song, I never even introduced it to the band unless I was happy with it.
Okay.
And so therefore, I knew. I mean, I was already confident it was going to be a song. And by the time the Falcons became a trio, me and John Schmidt and Doug Wagner. And these guys were just reading my mail. I mean, we could learn a song in 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play with somebody for a long time, right?
Just nuts.
Yeah.
And plus, their ears were so refined.
Yeah. Right.
Especially John's.
So originally the Falcons were a 4-piece.
5.
5.
And it changed pretty quickly. Originally at Corey's, we started out at Corey's, which is now the Mad Frog.
Uh-huh.
We put 250 people in that room with 30 or 40 people waiting on the sidewalk to get in.
Wow.
And that was every Thursday night. So that was like the phenomenon that we were waiting for.
About what year did you guys become the Falcons that we all know now?
86, I came back from Texas, a trip to Texas. I recorded two 90-minute cassettes of all these whole 3-minute songs. We worked up 24 of them, and that was our cover base for the trio. So it was mostly, mostly originals, and then
50s rock stuff,
Texas R&B.
Texas R&B.
Yeah, and so that's why people say I remind them a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm like, yeah, a little bit, but we all grew up on the same music.
Right.
I was dumbstruck by the same grooves he was dumbstruck by and grew up with,
Yeah.
rockabilly and that Texas R&B stuff. And so that became my meat and potatoes, and I wrote an awful lot of songs that didn't sound like that, but they were accepted by the crowd, and just an amazing how grateful and surprised we are that this stuff lasted as long as it did. And on my 70th birthday, I'm over here at Wiedemann, and 400 people show up.
Yeah, you're a
The place
legend
was
in town,
packed.
man.
I got lined up to be Bo Diddley's backup band. Anytime he hits the town, he insisted that the Falcons back him up. So we did Millette Hall, we did T-Birds over in Covington, we did the
Wow, that's cool.
wherever he showed up, and Cincinnati Gardens. I mean, I'm down in Nashville, and I'm going to play a half an hour set between, this blues band's on stage, and they take a half an hour break. I asked them if my trio could come up and play a half an hour while they're on break. I said, no problem. Turns out, I get over there that night, Bobby Keys is in their band. So Bobby Keys sits down there and listens to what I'm doing for a half an hour. I get off stage and I said, hey man, you're blowing good tonight. He goes, speaking of blow, I mean, that's right away, he's introducing himself.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, I can't help you with that tonight. And, we had a nice conversation. He goes, well, where's your band play? I go, well, we're getting gigs here in Nashville, but we play the night before holidays in Cincinnati. He said, well, why don't you ask me to join you? So, for like 8 or more gigs, Bobby Keith played in my band.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, he was off tour when the Stones were
Up here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've just been so lucky, and you get to thinking you're pretty good, but you're probably not as good as you're not getting picked up. Of course, we didn't have any large tours we could jump on at the time. They didn't have any of that Popalooza thing going on,
Yeah. You're hanging up the guitar and
No, I'm playing guitar every day. I kind of
Yeah.
hung up the steel because I hadn't played it with 500 in 2 years, and
I mean, as far as going to gigs and stuff. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could still brush up on the steel very easily, but I'm playing guitar every day because it was always my main instrument.
Yeah.
And every now and then I think about bringing the banjo back out, but I'm like, nah. I had my time with the folk thing.
Well, you've inspired a lot of people. It's been great seeing you play over the years and all the different
I
versions.
just felt
that
so
you
lucky that if I could take somebody who's going to take 6 years to get some decent thing on recording, and I shorten that to 6 weeks, I've done something for somebody that that might help them.
Right.
So I still do that every time I can.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it much because I don't want anybody thinking I'm a bank. I'm not a bank, but I do like to help where I can.
Was there anything you want to say to the fans or anything, or
Just completely grateful.
Yeah.
It just I can't believe that things I wrote 35 years ago are people still want to hear. It's just that just blows my mind. Like in this day of kind of like throwaway music. I must have been doing something right.
Yeah, people have short attention spans right now, so that really means a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not everybody got as lucky as I did. So.
Well, you appealed to everybody because you had a sort of an old-timey vibe, in a 50s sort of way, but yet you were punk rock too.
Right, I had enough punk edge to just piss off the guys that weren't quite that good yet. But you can make up a punk band on your lunch hour at UC, DAP. Which is okay. I have no problem with that.
Sure, yeah.
But you're not going to compete with somebody that's playing a guitar.
Yeah.
I didn't buy a guitar.
And the songs. Getting the songs.
Right. Yeah.
The songs are what it's all about,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that none of those songs sound like the other ones.
Right.
I didn't write the same song twice.
Right.
Which is another reason why a label didn't want me. I don't regret any of that stuff. I mean, if I'd have been a big star at age 27 or 28, I'd probably be dead by now. And I wouldn't have the life I have, 5 acres out in Ramhash with my beautiful Bobby Jean, and all the, I can go to a movie theater without being hassled.
Sure.
Can't much go into a stop and go in Newport without being called out, but that's okay too. A little bit of notoriety doesn't hurt me any.
Yeah.
And I still get people yelling, "Big Bill!" Because we went under Big Bill Pick when the legendary Jerk and Gherkin trained that swing era.
I remember that.
You know, I just took the guitar parts that I wrote and gave them to the horns, and put in some, little jazzy or added some sixths to the chords, and
there you go,
and played jump blues. Do
a little seventh chords in there.
It's like a chameleon for the times.
Yeah, you always did change with the times.
Well, without changing the essence of what I was delivering.
Yeah,
I could call it something else because we were always a swing band.
Well, your heart was in all those changes.
We were a swing band.
Yeah, it's true.
I got to excite John and Doug anymore. They're being pretty critical. So I got to get them juiced. And if I get them juiced, then I got a project.
Yeah.
It's all in good spirit. I started out as an athlete.
Yeah.
And I was a catcher. I had a coach that taught me how to swing level, follow through, the whole thing, step out, with your, reach out with a leg while you're swinging.
Yeah.
All those steps that the pros, are taught. And this coach taught me how to hit a home run. And so I was batting fourth. I hit 12 home runs in the season. It's only 12 games. It's 90 days every Saturday,
Yeah.
So I hit an average of a home run per game. And 4 of those home runs were grand slams because I had 3 guys up ahead of me, batting cleanup.
So you're a big deal in the baseball world when you were 12.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then I got a little taller and moved away from baseball and into basketball, and I played basketball for the Navy. And we were down the West Coast playing the other clubs, in the bases.
Uh-huh.
And I messed up my knee in a championship game. And when I was in the hospital getting my knee repaired at U.S. Naval Hospital, Balboa Naval Hospital, the vet next to me he had a nylon guitar and he's playing it. I'm like, I'm going to get a guitar as soon as this cast comes off. So unfortunately, I bought a 12-string guitar and I didn't know how to tune it. And so I had 90 guys in the same barracks that wanted throw my guitar off the roof.
Oh yeah.
But a petty officer came in. He heard the squabble. Petty officer came in and told him to lay off me. If this guy wants to play guitar, you let him.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I learned how to play guitar, mostly experimenting. I didn't take any lessons or anything. So because I'm experimenting and I have a love for rockabilly, I learned a lot of rockabilly. But I didn't go learn a whole song. I just learned the essence of rockabilly.
Were you already singing when you were young too, right?
Yeah, I started singing in the sock hop band at 14.
Okay.
And before that, I was singing Gregorian chant requiems every Saturday for the church. Because I grew up Catholic. And
so that was your first guitar.
Yeah, and my first guitar was a 12-string, and I finally learned how to tune it, and I experimented on it. So the experimentations, I never actually learned a full song of somebody else's. Mm-hmm. I just experimented on what would sound like a balanced set of chords to me.
Yeah.
And little small dual note fingering that I learned, and all of it was just spending, being bored in the Navy. You got, when you're
sure.
You sit down and
it's amazing.
You sit down and play for hours and hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where, I've been really fortunate all my life to have succeeded at these things that I'm throwing my efforts toward. Mm-hmm. And it just, I can't be anything but grateful.